Hopefully everybody had a good breakfast and are ready to get started. We have our first session this morning is an update from Micky Verma from the State CIO office. Micky is the Deputy State CIO of Operations at the ITS office. Prior to joining ITS, he was the Director of IT Application Development at Techelec, and Nortel before that. He has over 20 years of experience in IT. Micky is a graduate of Carleton University, and I will tell you that he attends most of our board meetings and works with us on talking about issues with the state, and we really appreciate him. Micky?
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. Well, good morning, everyone. Everybody's bright and early. I'm surprised how many people showed up after last night, but good to see everybody here. Dante, could I get the presentation up? Thanks. Again, thank you very much, and thanks for having me here this morning. There we go. I'm Micky Verma. As Bill said, I'm the Deputy State Chief Information Officer. And I've been with the state now for a little over 7 months, and it has been quite the experience. We're going through a lot of changes over at the state, and I'll go through some of the key initiatives we have today going forward. And at the same time, as you may have heard, there's some elections coming up. And you know, we're preparing for that as well, and so it should be continue to be exciting times. Just a quick background. I think many of you know this already, but I always thought it's good just to touch a little bit about ITS as a whole. We are a service provider, and we provide technology services for the state agencies, universities, colleges, and of course local governments. We work very closely with many of you here today in the room. Our services are provided on a fee-for-service basis. So that means we are a cost recovery agency in that aspect. One thing I try to stress, and let folks know, we may not and try not to make a profit, right? We can neither over nor under recover the cost of the services. Now, has that always worked exactly as planned over the past few years from what I've seen? And I think many of you know that's not the case, but we have done a lot over the last few months, and really have focused on looking at our services, looking at our costs, and coming down to a model that we believe allows us to be very cost effective, not only from how we work with the agencies, but at the same time how it compares out into the market as well. So I think it's a very important aspect that we're focusing on. And as you know, and as I've said, cities, counties, and the local governments do use and may use our services at the same cost. So you know, we continue to try to drive forward around really 5 portfolios. We have more than 40 services, but there's really about 5 portfolios, if you look at it holistically, that we concentrate on. Around application services, professional service for things like development and support and project management, hosting, network, and desktop services, and I'll touch more on these things as we go forward. And also collaboration and communication service, big focus around unified communications, web video conferencing, and telephony in particular. And we also do a lot of security services around that in terms of working back around, you know, firewalls, virtual private networks, and just general security audits and that aspect of things. A lot of this information is available online, as you know, around on our service catalog at our home site. Now, when we talk about ITS, I've talked a whole about the services that we offer. But what I wanted to just spend a few minutes on is just touch on what are some of the really governing principles we are trying to focus on. One, first and foremost, it's around customer service. We want to make sure that we can and do listen and understand our customer issues. This is one of the cultural changes that I am trying to work through, as been there the last 7 months, and working back with the ITS organization in terms of making sure we understand what the customer's issues are and the problems, we deliver on our commitments, and we also look to give communications and provide regular service reviews and updates. these are all key feedbacks that I had received when I first came on earlier this year. When I talked to a lot of the agencies, talked to a lot of the government, local governments as well, and they said, you know, communication is the key thing. And we're looking on how can you make sure that we deliver on the dates that are committed, because we are all working to the same challenges in this industry, and everybody wants more, quicker, at a less cost. That takes us to the aspect around from a business strategy perspective and understanding what's the business process. So it goes back to understanding the business problem and making sure that we can provide solutions that address that problem. In the past, I've seen, and I'll be very frank with you guys, from an ITS perspective, we tended to look at from a silo perspective. You needed network services, you needed telephony services, or you needed hosting services, right? And sometimes it was very siloed in that aspect in terms of working back with our customers. One of the key things we are now striving towards is making sure we can provide that end-to-end solution, because that's really how we can all work together and collaborate. It's not worried about the silos, but looking at the horizontal that goes right across all these areas and making sure that if you need services from a hosting perspective or you need services from a telephony perspective or network perspective, that's all addressed at the same time. And that leads to being improving how we go to time to market. It's not only delivering on the commitments, but ensuring that how quickly the projects are done, how quickly we can deliver are just as important. And as I said earlier, it's about ensuring we're transparent also and driving this in a cost-effective manner. Transparency is very important. We want to be very open in terms of not only any issues or what the risks are associated, but also what the costs are. And hopefully as we go forward and we engage further, you'll start seeing how we have tried to change in that aspect of making sure things are delivered, not only in a cost-effective manner, but you understand the costs. The other key feedback I'd always received here was the billing and how the services were put together were very complex and complicated. And again, that's one of the key areas we focused on going forward and try to make it easier to do business with ITS. Now, one of the things and one of the governing principles around this, we are a state agency, right? And our focus is really on looking at things from a statewide perspective. You know, when you talk about IT, and I know we all deal with these challenges today, is how do you move away from IT just being sort of looked at as a commodity? Hey, I need to fix the printer. I need to fix our projector, right? Versus how do we work together to enable what I call enabling the business, moving up the IT stack. You know, we understand there are services that need to be delivered. How do we align with what the business needs are? What are the solutions that meet those needs? And then obviously there's always a technical foundation at the bottom that delivers this. So in many cases, and I've seen this across in the industry, there's a big focus of IT on the bottom half, the technical foundation. And that's where we get sort of in the rut sometimes of being looked at, as I said earlier, as a commodity service versus how do we actually help the business to drive forward. We all know the challenges that each of our agencies, each of our governments, local governments are dealing with, right? Less budget, less time, deliver more, less resources. So technology is there to help that, and that's what we can help to drive forward, working with our business partners and understanding what's the business problem you're trying to solve, right? And looking at what are the solutions that allow us to move up this IT stack. Now, as part of that, we all know that we've got to adapt. The need to adapt is critical, and there's many things around that. There's always changing business models. There's changing technologies, as we know. So, you know, part of what we're doing also within ITS is reviewing all our current service offerings. We're looking to establish tiered models. There's not a one size fits all, right? Each agency, each local entity has different requirements, and it's important for us to make sure we can be flexible and delivering in these tiered models. So we're constantly assessing, you know, what are improvements in our services that we can offer, how best can we develop and deliver these new tiered models or new type of services. And again, as you go back and take a look at our catalog, you'll start to see the changes that are coming in each of one of the portfolios I talked about. The other big thing we want to focus on, and this conference has been a great example of that, is allowing us to collaborate, leveraging statewide services. We have economies of scale at the state, and this is something together, we can leverage and continue to drive cost efficiencies across the state, to the agencies, to the local entities. We can look at and developing consistent business processes, business cases, and doing that cost comparison. And that's will benefit all of us. Grabbing that economies of scale is the key part as we're trying to all deliver similar type of services to our business partners and to our citizens of North Carolina. And through that whole thing is also being very effective. We are very much, one of the other areas we're focused on is looking how can we streamline some of the procurement and our provisioning cycle. Another constant feedback I got, right? It takes too long to move contracts through or leverage some of the contracts we have in place. So we're looking at how can we redefine some of the rules, some of the processes that are around it. How can we automate more, work closely with our vendors and our partners in some of that automation, and really look how can we simplify and get things done in a quicker fashion. So again, these are things and these are the focus areas that we are driving forward. By the numbers, I'm not going to read all this. As you know, we have a large footprint here with the state. We have 2 large data centers, which I'll touch on in a second, hosting thousands of, as you can see here, physical and virtual servers, support desktop, laptops across multiple locations, as you can see. Networking, we are responsible for our statewide network. We handle a lot of the telephony, again, and opportunity I think we can touch on. Email accounts, serving over a majority of the state agencies on that front. And identity management, we have over 200,000 unique IDs that, a single ID that allows us to share between systems for our citizens, and I'll touch on that as well. So as we go into this, like I said, there's a few services I wanted to touch on that I think would be beneficial, in that collaboration and opportunities to work back with the local governments. Talked about the facilities first. We operate, as you know, 2 data centers, 24/7, 365. It's almost, I would not call it a tier 4 type, but it's close. Tier 3.5 for those of you that look very closely at the statistics on that front. So, I mean, we have one here on the eastern side, one on the western side of North Carolina. And as you can see, it can withstand Cat 4 hurricane, which I hope we never have to deal with. But, the key part of this, it allows redundancy to ensure we've got service delivery across the state at any given point of time. And part of that, and again, here's some opportunities I think, is opportunity from a floor hosting perspective. Because it is a safe and secure data center, it's an opportunity for where you can house your systems. I know when I've talked to a lot of the local governments, the big issue is always about space, right? And where can we house it? Where can we have reliable power? Where can we have redundancy if we need it? And what do we do about business continuity and disaster recovery, right? So the floor hosting model we have here, and it's something definitely I'd urge you to take a look at, is a really cost-effective alternative for you guys to relieve some of that space capacity issues we have, and also look at it as an opportunity of, do I need something from a disaster recovery? Because that's always one of the key things when you think about that. As we know from as IT technicians, it's very important for us to make sure we have that, but it's not always the highest priority that comes up when we try to solve all the other problems we're dealing with. The other part of here, and this was kind of interesting when I was talking to my team about this, mainframe of all things. We keep hearing the downside of mainframe in terms of how systems and applications are moving to distributed architecture. We know that is the case, long-term future, but that's been being said now for 10, 20 years, as far as I can remember. And as we all know, we still have a lot of mainframe applications and systems running. And while the trend continues to look at ways to and the opportunity to move to a distributed architecture on that front, we've had many discussions, and many local governments have come to us to say, can you help us in terms of taking advantage and leveraging the mainframe architecture we have in place at ITS? So definitely, I think this is an opportunity for those of you that are still running those systems, a viable option to help to extend the lifespan of your mainframe investment, as well as an alternative to, as you're looking to move to distributed, you need that space, so to speak, that environment that you can help as you work through that merge and transition time. And we found, as we've worked with many local governments, that they've been able to take advantage of this, and I thought that would be a good opportunity here just to bring up. Obviously, from a business perspective, it's got the 7x24 and all the things you would expect around a mainframe environment. We offer also a wide variety of telephony services, and again, these are at competitive prices. And again, it's about leveraging our state's buying power. You know, the telephony service go a wide range from the trunks to the business lines, to the voice over IP, cell phones, long distance, all these contracts. And again, we'd be happy to work together with you to help to take advantage of some of that buying power and looking at what makes sense for many of you. The other part of this is around network services. Again, because of our buying power, very competitive rates in terms of leveraging what we have from a fully managed or even just transport circuits for a WAN, managed LAN services, network security, structured cabling. And why I wanted to touch on this is, you know, as I said earlier, a lot of us are under pressure all the time from doing more with less. And if there's ways we can help, because you know, we all have limited resources, and it looks at, we've got them doing 10, 20 things all at the same time. And if we can help to take some of those things so that they can focus on those business problems versus focusing on how do I have a network running up and run, and the cost of it is worked out in a cost-effective manner for you, I think that's a win-win situation on all fronts. Allows you to focus and concentrate more on some of the key business issues you're constantly dealing with. And you know, this ties into convenience contracts. I'm sure many of you are aware, but I just wanted to re-emphasize, you know, we have a lot of convenience contracts that you have the ability to leverage, and I can put you forth to our procurement office and understand all the contracts that are available. You know, one, for example, that we've leveraged, and I just touch on here, is managed print services, right? We've implemented this within our agency, and we've seen approximately over 51% savings on just our printing expenses, you know, over the prior year spent. I mean, there's a lot of advantages that you can see that's pretty straightforward to take advantage of, and provides you the cost savings and dollars that you can then redirect and use for some other critical projects you have in place. And you know, obviously that allows you to avoid any capital outlay, which is just as important for your financial teams. One of the things I did want to touch on also is around the North Carolina Identity Management Solution we have. It's also referred to as NCID. And really, I think this is one of the really great opportunities for us all to work together for make it easier for our citizens. And that's really the goal that we're all here for. You know, the primary benefit of this is we've got one ID and password, right, that can be used across multiple applications. We have over 200,000 accounts right now integrated with over 166 applications at this point, and we're forecasted to more than double. And what this means is our citizens can come in and log into whatever system, and they're using the same ID and password. Is it fully single sign-on? I would not call that, but it is a single ID and password, which in itself, you know, when you go back to how to make it easier for our citizens to work with the government, in essence, this is definitely a very plus on that side. You know, one ID and password. We all know ourselves, just being in the technology industry, managing multiple ID and password is is time-consuming. Not difficult, but tedious, right? And at the same time, you know, how many of you deal with support calls all the time because users have forgotten their ID and password to a particular application? Same sort of context here. about having that one ID to share across all your applications. Same ID that they can handle at the local governments to the state, and we're working down that aspect. So again, be happy to talk further about that in more detail and get you in contact with our teams on that front to leverage this as you go forward. I brought this up at the spring symposium last time, and thought it'd be good to touch on again about the project management preparation classes that we do offer. A few of you did take advantage of that from the spring to this fall session, so that was great. We offer a PMP certification class to aid state and local government project managers as they prepare for their global standard certification on that front. These classes are normally held in April, May, and the fall time. So, and here's the key part: they're free, right? There are a series of classes. They're taught by state employees who are certified, and they volunteer their time. We have great turnout on these classes as they're occurring, and I urge you. It's a great opportunity from a training perspective, even for your folks, to take advantage of this. If interested, Jesus is leading our preparation classes on that. His email is here, but please don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll have this. This is on our website as well. But again, I think we've had some great turnout from our agencies and from local governments, and again, great opportunity for your folks as well. One of the things when we talk about what's new coming and where are we at ITS and some of the services, we are very much into looking at some of the new technologies and working through things like client computing. I know there were some sessions over this week around virtual desktops, and we are in the midst of rolling out a trial around that. We have worked through a lot of the processes and the issues, and have set up now test environments, which we are starting to engage with various agencies in terms of providing a virtual desktop client computing model versus what you see today as standard laptops and desktops, right? We've gone through a lot of the background in terms of going through the criteria. Is this who are the right folks that would fit into this model, right? Not everybody. There's a lot of folks that are going to need their laptops and their desktops, right, depending on the role they're in. At the same time, there's a great opportunity here where not only to help to reduce costs, but many of the roles we have today really just need access to either a Word document or something along those lines. Where you can put that information back on a back-end server and really don't need a high-powered desktop, right? And everything. The other part of this is really around security as well, which allows you to have this image back on a server itself, right? And all the information, and when you start talking about data and data protection and IP, what's that information we want to protect? It's all stored on a state infrastructure. It's not on the local desktops or the local laptops that, unfortunately sometimes does walk away. So again, great opportunity, allows you to maximize your return on investment when you think about this, right? The cost differential and the reduction in the investment and the operational cost going forward is quite significant from a normal laptop or desktop. Again, we are starting working through the test pilot with various agencies. We've had a lot of great feedback from those that are involved, and many are looking forward to how to leverage this going forward. And again, be happy to get you guys involved on that, fill you in on some information, and discuss that further. The other one that we are focused on as well, and this is part of the last House bill that came out about putting together a strategy around private cloud. Cloud means a lot of things for a lot of people. We know that. It's the buzzword. Everything is in the cloud, right? So what does that mean, and how are we going to leverage that at the state side, right? We have the 2 data centers I talked about. We host multiple applications across for agencies. Now, how are we going to play the cloud model now? So we are working to put together blueprints around that. What does that mean for the state? How best can we leverage it? We actually have a deliverable due to the Legislative Assembly, I believe it's end of January, in terms of what is the blueprint for the state's cloud strategy. And we're going to be, we're working through that right now. We do see some benefits, obviously, as I'm sure all of you have already looked through this in many aspects and using different types of cloud services and software as a services, infrastructure as a services kind of things. But you know, our goal here is to look how can we leverage it again to reduce investment and operational costs. Key thing across each one of these slides you see, how can we facilitate business continuity and agility, maximize return on investment. Again, key driving points you're seeing in everything as we look at any of these new strategies, any of these new potential solutions we can use, right? It's all focused on how can we make things better and more efficient and more cost effective. And one of the key things around cloud computing is the opportunity to pay for what you use, right? Today, in many cases, we have to buy and forecast capacity, right? And then when you try to do that, you're scaling out. Okay, when do I think I'm going to hit maximum capacity and have to put another investment in place? This is all about now pay for what you use at that given point of time. So that model is really coming you know, to life in many aspects. And the other part of this is also reducing provisioning time. We all know that when you hit that capacity, I got to go order, you know, a server, order storage, whatever it may be, and then, you know, there's a time, and normally you're working back with your partners, you can get those pretty fast, but then there's time to set it up, there's time to get things configured, and then hand it off to your customers on that front. A lot of this, when you talk about cloud, you're talking about reducing provisioning time. You're talking about bringing things together that allows you to almost be self-service. You know, if some of your technical, in many of the areas that you deal with, you've got technical folks. Hey, I just need to set this up. I need an extra 50 gigs or whatever. Self-provisioning allows them to go there and just order it, and you're off and running. There's nothing more needs to be done, and you know, again, it allows you to deliver much more quicker and be more efficient on that front. One of the things we are working towards here, and this is a new contract that we've got in line coming for in the fourth quarter of this year, and it really is about enhancing our contact center services. As I talked earlier, we provide a lot of telephony services across the agencies, and part of that is our contact call centers itself. And one of the things that we are doing here, and again, it's based on discussions with the agencies, discussion with the various call centers. It's about what are the features that you need, you know, to handle the calls that are coming in from the citizens. And so we've had that, those discussions, those requirements were put together collaboratively to make sure that the services that will be offered meets those needs. Bid was put out, and like I said, as I said here, a new contract is expected here shortly, and that'll allow us to upgrade our systems and provide more of those selective features that many of the agencies and many of the folks have asked for. And that will include things in terms of our IVR services that are part of that as well. So again, those of you that have handle support, handle call services in that, it's a great self-service mechanism, and again, you know, high availability, business continuity are all keys behind it. And I touched on this earlier, but just to emphasize, you know, from a hosting services perspective, we are looking at distributed hosting options, infrastructure as a service, storage as a service, so to speak. It's about that self-provisioning and ability to, again, get what you need when you need it and pay for it as you require it over that given period of time. One of the other key things, and you always have to have somewhat of a technical looking chart. We're all IT folks. This is really, and the reason I want to just quickly touch on this is we've had some great success with this and really looking to push this out. This is about integrating applications. As we know, and as all you have heard and dealt with, big data is another buzzword in the industry today. And that represents, you know, what are we going to do with all this data? as many of us have said, and you talk to architects, you talk to assist area leaders, it's all about what can I do with the data, right? And what does that tell me what I can do, right? So the key on this is how do we be able to share data among systems? As we all know, when you're doing development and on that front, there's different protocols or different ways that data flows from system to system, depending on how it's built. This, what we've called a service bus, is an integration architecture that sort of takes that complexity out of the picture, where by leveraging this service bus, applications and systems are easily able to share information in a standard manner, which they, over using web services and other things from a services-oriented architecture, allowing them to share that information. We've had some great success recently. Some of you may be familiar with our work with DHHS and the NC FAST program. If not, please go online. There's a lot of information behind that. But the key thing on that was about the ability to share data from multiple sources and bring it all together into different applications. So multiple systems, we're all looking at the same source of data. And as we all know, that's key, right? You have to have a source of data. You have to understand, is it reliable? And is the information that it's providing accurate, that I can actually make some decisions around it? This is definitely one of the key things we feel that is going to be beneficial across the state, across for agencies and to the local governments. And again, be happy to sit down and look, how can you leverage some of the technology? How can you leverage some of the information that we've got in place and can take advantage of already? When you're trying to figure out where do I get the source of data? Because we get a lot of calls, from the local governments and from agencies. Where is this particular piece of data and how do I get it, right? And then there's all the complexity if you're trying to build a point-to-point solution, and this, again, helps to reduce that complexity. Bottom line as I wrap up, we're all dealing with the common business challenges. We've all got cost constraints. That's a given. I hear that all the time. For us at ITS, we're continue trying to look at our services, be flexible, making sure that we can work together with you, so you can see the business case and the return on investment. Over the past 7 months, I had my finance team look at what have we been able to accomplish on the cost side. And across the board, we've had some significant reductions in our rates, okay? I know when I've talked to some of you here, even last night at some of the tables, it was about, love to use some of the services, but, the costs just, we're a small government, don't have a small budget, and that's really an impeding factor. And what I'm saying is, give me a call, take a look at our new catalog, look at the new rates that have come out, and we're continuing to drive those lower. And I think in many of the cases, you'll see that they are very much in line with what you would be expecting. And like I said, I'd be glad to hear it and take more feedback on that front if there's any particular area that you think may not be along those lines. Bottom line, it's meeting customer expectations. That's what we're here for, and that's why we, I don't think we've done a good enough job over the past. We've had some great, we've been able to work together, but I think there's a lot of opportunities that we both can have win-win situations in terms of not only the services we provide, but how we can help you in terms of delivering to your constituents and to delivering to your business folks, that because we're all dealing with the same challenges. Again, we all know disruption is really the name of the game. That's why we're in IT, right? So continue to deliver better service to our customer. Let's adapt and let's get back to the basics. Really continue to innovate more and continue to work together. Thank you. Again, if I can be of any assistance, please give me a call directly. There's my email address as well, and we'd be happy to work together. Thank you very much.